Good morning, everybody. This moment has been a long time coming, and I'm thrilled to finally be here. I would like to express my gratitude to each of you for making the time to join us and make today a success. My name is Valentina Ofiepre Uchebu Ni Amiebi, and I'm the Executive Director and Co-Founder of the Africa Young Diplomats Forum. Our organization is dedicated to empowering the next generation of African leaders through diplomacy. We believe that true success lies not just in acquiring knowledge, but in applying it. Our maiden edition kicked off with a 2-day diplomatic simulation for secondary school and university students, focusing on the poverty crisis in Africa and the African Continental Free Trade Area. The students demonstrated remarkable eagerness and dedication, producing outstanding resolutions that will be shared with relevant authorities. Today's theme and topics are deliberately chosen to spark meaningful discussions. I'm grateful to our keynote speakers and our distinguished guests, renowned experts in their fields who will share valuable insights and answer pressing questions. Africa is blessed with immense potential waiting to be unleashed. Some may ask, why Africa? Why not Nigeria? And our response is, if Nigeria thrives, where will it flourish? We need the entire continent to prosper as we are integral to the whole. Please get comfortable and join me on this journey of enlightenment and discovery. I would like to introduce our guests. In our midst, we have the representative, she's stepping in, the representative of Her Majesty Olori Atuwase III. She's the wife to the Olu of Warri Kingdom. We have Ambassador Professor Tunji John Asaolu. We have Professor Jonathan Lerimu. We have Sir Emmanuel Ewodagi. We also have Mr. Mohammed Wase, the Coordinator Youth Engagement and Inclusion Unit of the National Orientation Agency. We also have Hajia Maimuna Musa Azaji, the Head of Department and the Director of Corporate Affairs and Information Department of the National Productivity Center. Amidst, we also have Ambassador Young Pero, Jet Age Nation Builders, Africa. He's also the Coordinator and Director of the Parliament for Africa, Caribbean, and the Pacific Joint Session. And we have Brigadier General Oghali Lukman Oloko, the consultant of the Nigerian Army University. Thank you once again for your time. Thank you very much. With our opening speech by His Excellency Ambassador Dr. Elijah Oyamba, is the former ambassador of Nigeria to the Republic of Burundi. He had a family engagement, so he's not able to be here present, but his heart is here and he has taken time to make a video for us. Thank you.
A very good morning to you all. My name is Ambassador Elijah Oyamba, the Nigeria's immediate past ambassador to the Republic of Burundi. I want to start this morning by appreciating the organizers of this program for the vision that they have for ensuring that the young ones are brought to speed with respect to what the vision for Africa 2063 agenda is all about. I also like to express my gratitude to them for finding me worthy to be given the opening speech in this very wonderful location. I'm truly, truly very grateful. I also want to appreciate other distinguished speakers that are here today with us that will be speaking on various topics. Thank you so very much for accepting to be here. It is indeed an honor to be speaking alongside with you. To the other esteemed guests, you're very much welcome. And to the youths, the reason for which we are all gathered here today. I say a very big thank you to you for taking out time out of your various busy schedules to be here. My sincere apologies for not being here in person. I unfortunately lost a cousin of mine who we are laying to rest today. That actually necessitated my absence. Other than that, I should have been here in person. And I look forward to further engagement with you, as we move along sometime in the near future. I understand that the theme of this event is the Agenda 2063, the Africa that we want. The Agenda 2063 is a blueprint for Africa's transformation. It envisions a prosperous and integrated continent with shared destiny. The vision is to achieve a peaceful, prosperous, and integrated Africa by 2063. Of course, this is a Pan-African vision. The Agenda 2063 is a bold plan for African unity, for the development and prosperity of the continent. It aims to transform the continent to a global player. The idea is also to achieve sustainable development, because if you read the plan, you will find out that it calls for a sustainable and inclusive economic growth driven by innovation, technology, and most importantly, human capital development. It is actually for Africa's transformation. The vision is to create a continent where all the Africans, all the citizens of the continent are empowered to reach their full potential. Of course, there are challenges that are facing this agenda. We must always talk about them, because for us to get to where we want to get to, we must also project into the future, look at the challenges and hurdles that we face, and find something that we can do to ensure that we come through with those challenges. And challenge number one is that of infrastructure. Infrastructure is a big problem in Africa. Road infrastructure, health infrastructure, education infrastructure, all of these are lacking in the continent. I mean, this agenda envisions that for Africa to be united, for us to have a prosperous Africa, there has to be improvement in our infrastructure. For all of the things technology can do for us, technology can fast forward you, can actually make you come up to date. But the truth of the matter is that infrastructure, you cannot gloss over them. We must find a way to build connecting roads and infrastructure that will take products from our farms to the industries. We must find a way to ensure that we have connecting roads from Cairo down to Johannesburg, and from Gambia straight to Tunisia, to countries like Tanzania. And we have to do this real quickly. There has to be a trans-African highway that will make it easier for us to trade amongst ourselves, that will make it easier for us to move from one location to another within the continent. We also have to improve on transport infrastructure. One of the major challenges we have in the continent is that it is actually very difficult to move around within the continent. If you want to move from Nigeria to, say, South Africa, or to, say, Zimbabwe or Zambia, you will find out that sometimes it takes you 2-3 days for you to move from one location to the other. Even though you are also using airplane to get involved in that. In some funny cases, you may have to fly from Africa, out of Africa to Europe, and then back to Africa for you to get to your destination. And this is a major problem that we have to deal with. Limited infrastructure, including railways and energy, hinders economic growth and trade. And this is a challenge that we must look forward to addressing. Trade barriers is also another challenge. We have had a situation where the 54 of us in this continent actually have about 42 different currencies. How are you going to be able to trade? So if I fly from here to Ghana, I have to change my currency, my Naira, to Ghana cedis. In some cases, move from Naira to dollar, and then from dollar to Ghana cedis. How are we going to be able to trade under these circumstances? So there's a call for action for regional bodies like the ECOWAS, like the SADC, like COMESA, like EAC, the East African Community, to begin to work together and find a way of ensuring that we have common currencies within the region. Within West Africa, we can actually come to begin to use one currency. Within SADC, they can actually come to begin to use another currency. So if we look at it, we can have a situation where we will not have more than easier. There are also custom issues. There are also tariff issues. When we move from one country to another, there has to be a point where we begin to unify, find some common grounds where we'll be able to improve on custom-related issues to be able to trade amongst ourselves. Intra-African trade at this particular point in time stands at 15%. And when you go to continents like Asia, Americas, and Europe, it's about 60%. So the volume of trade that goes on within the continent is just 15%. And there's no way we can achieve our full potentials as a continent if we do not do something about this. And that is the reason why the setting up of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement has become very important. And every African must support this initiative so that we can begin to trade amongst ourselves and begin to improve on the continent's economic powers. The regional bodies must also do whatever they need to do to support one another to see that we improve our size of market. When we trade amongst ourselves as a continent, we have a market of 1.3 billion people. And that 1.3 billion people, if they begin to produce things and sell among themselves, that will eventually get us to becoming one of the world economic powers. We also have challenges of political instability. If you look at what is going on in some of the African countries, we witness coup d'etats, and some of the reasons why this happens is as a result of poor leadership and bad governance. When you dig deeper, you find out that democracy, which is meant to provide dividends, democracy which is meant to provide good governance, is heavily lacking. And then over time, people become disenchanted and you see them actually crying for any form of leadership that is not democracy. So this is a call to action for African leaders and politicians, that we must do everything possible to provide effective leadership for our people. And that in itself will find a way to ensuring that we do not have so much instability within the continent, because we can't achieve our agenda if there's instability. We must also leverage on the opportunity for African integration. We must harness technology. This is the global age, digital age, where a lot of technology is being brought to bear. A lot of digital options are there for us to improve on our daily lives. Digital technologies can bridge infrastructure gaps and also enhance connectivity and in facilitating trade. We also find out that we must do everything possible to promote intra-African trade. This is at the heart of the development of the continent. Investment in human capital cannot be understated. Africa has got a population of about 1.3 billion, out of which 75% of that is under the age of 30. This is a young population. This can actually be transformed into something that is heavy that will help the continent. So we must, in everything that we do, try to do everything possible to ensure that we improve on our human capital development. We must also look at strategies like PPP to be able to overcome our infrastructure challenge. We must also look at regional infrastructural development. Countries that are in regions can come to find a way of ensuring that infrastructure that cut across the countries within the continent are done in a joint manner. We must also leverage on innovation and technology to be able to do all of this. We must have trade facilitation, we must have investment promotion, and we must ensure that every player in this space is working together to ensure that we achieve the Africa that we desire. In conclusion, realizing the Africa we want is actually following Agenda 2063 to the letter. It offers a roadmap for a transformed Africa by addressing challenges and capitalizing on opportunities. We can build a prosperous and integrated continent. The future is in our hands, like our boss in Elumelu will say. Thank you very much for granting me this opportunity to speak with you. I wish you the best of the deliberation. May God bless you. May God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. May God bless Nigerian youth, and may God bless Africa.
I'd like to introduce Ambassador Professor Tunde Saulu for his opening remarks. Thank you, sir.
For bringing me to the podium. You will permit me to also stand on the existing protocol with a specific focus on those on the high table. Glad sitting closely with my father, Professor Jonathan Aremu. For those of us that not know Professor Jonathan Aremu, is the pioneer vice chancellor of Covenant University. And of course, currently a consultant to ECOWAS, and is also the chairman of Africa School of Diplomacy and International Relations. You are welcome, sir. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, distinguished delegates, esteemed youth leader here present, and our students over there, ladies and gentlemen, it's still morning, I will say good morning. I am deeply honored and privileged to stand before you today at the Africa Youth Day Conference, a gathering that serves a beacon of hope and inspiration for the next generation of African leaders. The theme of today's conference is tagged as Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, overcoming challenges and harnessing the opportunity for Africa economic integration. This resonates profoundly with the aspirations and ambition of our continent, Africa. As we look toward the future and factualize the Africa we want to see on or before year 2063, it is imperative that we recognize the vital roles that young people play as the driver of change, progress, and innovation. We, the youth of Africa, are not just the leaders of tomorrow, we are the leaders of today, capable of shaping the destiny of our continent and realizing the vision of Agenda 2063. The agenda itself is embedded in the young people, where we want to change the narrative. And of course, we have to cap them, where we are young. We are seeing the journey of 50 years from 2013 to 2063. You will also agree with me that a child that is 10 years old today, I think we have spent almost like 13 years or 11 years thereabout of that agenda. So we have almost 39 years to go. So if a child that is 10 years old today, at the end of that agenda, if you have 10 years plus 39 years, that is 49 years. So that child should be old enough to run with the agenda of the continent and to represent the continent anywhere in the world. So the journey starts now. To achieve the Africa we want, characterized by peace, prosperity, unity, and sustainable development, we must harness the energy, creativity, and passion of our youth. It is essential that we empower young people to actively participate in decision-making processes, policy formulations, and implementation strategies that drives Africa economic integration and inclusive growth. Young people are not just beneficiaries of development initiative. We are catalysts for transformations and progress. By investing in education, skills and development, entrepreneurship, and technology, we can unlock the potential of Africa's youthful populations and unleash the waves of innovations and excellences that propel us towards a brighter future. It is not properly right when we think that youth are not part of those in existence. So we just believe that whatever we have to give to them. I think it is the higher time for us to sit on the right table and see how we can talk about the shared prosperities. Because whatever we are in the world is for all of us. So let's know what is even the percentage that even go to the youth. It's only women we are talking about 35% affirmative action for. What about the youth? So it's better we also share it so that all of us will know what belongs to us. The African Union Agenda 2063 encapsulates the collective dreams and aspiration for a united, prosperous, and peaceful Africa. It is incumbent upon us, the young leaders of today, to take ownership of this agenda, champion its implementation, and ensure that the forces, interests, and needs of the youth are at the forefront of Africa development trajectory. Let us seize this moment to collaborate, inspire, and mobilize our peers toward building the Africa we want, a continent that full of opportunities, shared prosperities, and inclusive growth. Together, We can overcome challenges, harness opportunity, and drive Africa economic integration toward a brighter, more sustainable future for all. I urge each and every one of you to embrace your role as an ambassador of change, advocate for progress, and architects of the Africa we aspire to create. Let us stand united in our commitment to realizing Agenda 2063 and shaping a better tomorrow for generations to come. If we can also hold our government accountable, the whole agenda is a framework. There is not even need of even duplicating any other agenda. If what we can agree here today is for us to come out with a position that all the governments in Africa should use Agenda 2063 as a benchmark for development, and I think on or before the year 2063, we will see Africa being seen as a United States of Africa, and the generations to come will not live forever to appreciate us for this work going on. So I ask you to relax, just enjoy the rest of the event. I know that there are a lot of speakers here. I know what they have, what they can also deliver to us. So please don't miss it. Try to listen and gain something. So thank you very much. May God bless Nigeria and God bless Africa.
Thank you once again, His Excellency Ambassador Professor Sudi Asawi. Standing on the existing protocol, my name is Sadiq Musa Babalola, and next on the agenda is the opening remark, the keynote speaker. We are inviting Professor John Aremu, Professor of International Relations, Consultant to ECOWAS Commonwealth Investment Market. Topic will be the role of regional economic communities in achieving African integration and FCFTA. Thank you all.
I appreciate the organizer of this program. Very timely, very exciting, and it's something in which we shall have a lot to be able to celebrate in future. Again, I appreciate all of you for being here, particularly the organizer of this program, and inviting me to be able to be here to look at that subject matter which people have been talking about, the role of economic integration of the entire continent. Africa, we have no option to do this, and the time is now. If we fail to do it now, then the future is not guaranteed. So, I appreciate you for that. And that is why this particular assignment is given. Because of time limit, as I said, let me just go ahead and look at the outline of my presentation. What are the basis for economic integration? You are going to look at that. How does economic integration work? So that you are going to know what we expect from integrating Africa. And then we now look at the emergence of African economic integration from where we are from the beginning to where we are now. What benefit? Oh, I put Nigeria there. I'm sorry. What benefit does Africa have in African value chain creation? That is, by making sure that the production activity actually cross our borders and consumption activity cross borders as well. What's the role of regional economic integration? That is, ECOWAS, SADC, EAC, COMESA. What is their role? And then I conclude. So, position of where we are in Africa, the basis to African economic integration. Just look at that statistics up there. It's not something that is good at all. Right? The continent has approximately 30% of the remaining arts, mineral resources. That is nearly a third of all the resources in the world. Over 40% of the gold is served in the entire global space, 60% of cobalt, and 90% of what God has put in the planet Earth in terms of platinum. Yet, Africa is the poorest and the most underdeveloped, despite these huge resources which God has given unto us. And that is why we have some people, some head of state, that have actually given us some information. And look at the two of them. The former head of state of Kenya, he said there cannot be any reason why we are trading among with other parts of the world, but we are not trading among ourselves. So also the past president of Ghana, we are going that this was the dream of our founding see an Africa that can trade better among itself. This can only be done under an economically integrated Africa, and therefore there is urgent need for African economic integration. Now, how does economic integration work? We need to know. Let us assume this. I used to call people out because of time limit. Let us look at it quickly. We are going to have a product. Maybe this is a product A, and the price, let us put it in dollar. Don't worry. We put dollar so that we can actually not discriminate between one country or the other. Let's put a totally different currency outside Africa. And let us see 3 countries, 2 in Africa, 1 outside Africa. And let us assume that at a later time, Nigeria and Ghana, they are going to go into economic integration. But let us look at the production cost of this product across Africa and across up to China. That particular product costs $50 in Nigeria, costs $40 in Ghana, but it costs only $30 in China. China is the cheapest world producer of that product. And therefore, if Nigeria did not want to actually buy any of these products from any part of the world, all they need to do is, let's say, they put 100% import duty, and that is what we see in Table 2. With a 100% import duty, then the price in Nigeria will be the cheapest. 100% of Ghana will move the price to $40, 100% of China will move it to $60. But again, let's look at another table, Table 3. Now, instead of 100%, Nigeria just put a 50%. Then something is happening. With 50%, the price will be now $60 in Ghana, but China is going to be 45. And then Nigeria is going to be what? 50. Which means that Nigeria will be buying from China and still be collecting import duty of 50%. But let's see the last scenario in which Nigeria and Ghana are going to economic integration. And that's in Table 4. So now the cost price, $50 in Ghana, from Nigeria, $14 in Nigeria, and 45 in China. Why 45 in China? Because import duty of 50% is still imposed on China, whereas the import duty on Ghana has been removed. With this one now, Nigeria and Ghana can go into economic integration, in which Nigeria will now be buying from where? From Ghana, and not from China. But if you are thinking fast, you will discover that for buying from Ghana, we are losing the import duty. Therefore, in every economic integration, there is lots of revenue. Therefore, the ability to be able to gain from economic integration depends on how much you can produce. If a country goes into economic integration without productive activity being put in place, then it's going to lead to a lot of revenue. And that is why, quite some time now, I've been able to be addressing the entire Africa, the African tax symposium, to be able to educate their different countries so that the economic integration will not be a loss. Therefore, we need to put in place productivity opportunities and then concentrating on areas of comparative advantage. So Ghana will be buying, Nigeria will be buying from Ghana, but Ghana also will be buying from Nigeria, where we have a better production opportunity than that of Ghana. Now, 2 things will happen under economic integration. And this is tested in both theory and practical. Number 1, economic integration will always lead to what? Trade diversion. We are diverting from China into Ghana. And as we lead to trade creation, we are creating trade between Nigeria and where? And Ghana. So the volume of trade creation must be more than the volume of trade diversion. Because under the trade diversion, you are losing revenue. And that is why we have to make sure that the productive capacity of countries going to economic integration must be improved. A lot of money, particularly to countries like my country, Nigeria, that if you want, you are going to economic integration, but you don't have light. Hello? Then you may not be able to produce competitively and you may not enjoy economic integration. Therefore, if God, before he can do anything, then let there be light. If we are not wiser than God, we have to make sure that as much as possible, the infrastructure with respect to light is put in place so as not to actually make production opportunity to be too difficult. Let me just go ahead. There are 4 phases of economic integration. The first one that I've just explained is called free trade area. The free trade area is a situation in which the countries that are integrated among themselves, they remove import duty and every other thing that will not allow them to trade. And that's why we call it free trade area? Free trade area. So under the example I've given, which is Ghana, Nigeria, and China, right? Nigeria and Ghana, they will be having free trade area among themselves. But Nigeria can impose higher import duty on China, and Ghana can impose a lower import duty on China. So if this kind of a thing happens, which is not covered under free trade area, it therefore implies that some of the fast traders in Ghana, they can actually import certain things that are cheap from China and then put made in China on it and then sell it to Nigeria. And that is a trade deflection. So we have to make sure that under economic integration, issue of need of origin is taken care of to make sure that trade deflection and dumping is actually checked. But the next phase of economic integration is customs union. Under a customs union is a situation in which countries that are economically integrating, they make sure that the import duty that is coming into any of the countries is the same. It's the same. On January 4, 2015, ECOWAS reached a customs union phase. That's a common external tariff in which the import duty charged on any product that is coming to Nigeria, coming to Niger, coming to Ghana, coming to Republic of Benin, coming to Dakar in Senegal, they are equally the same thing. And that is why you don't see all those cars that have been brought from the Republic of Benin again. Why? Because the import duty will be the same. That is the second phase of economic integration. The third phase is common market. And what is common market? Is a situation in which the factors of production, the policies are harmonized. And when they introduce me, they say consultant ECOWAS common investment market, which means I'm in charge of making sure that the investment market is common. I actually developed ECOWAS investment code, and I participated in developing Pan-African investment code, which we used for the February last year. The last phase of economic integration is a phase in which not only do we have phase 1, which is free trade area, phase 2, which is customs union, phase 3, which is common market, but phase 4, which is economic union. Under economic union, you have single currency. I've heard somebody that is talking online, talking about single currency. You don't go into single currency when you are in free trade area. You don't go there when you are in customs union. You even don't go there when you are in common market. You only go there under economic union. And if you attempt to go there, that's a single currency. You will need to do a lot of policy convergences, which macroeconomic policy objective of the member state will not be able to permit. And that is why it's very important that you move this thing into phases. Now, let's look at the phases I've been talking about. Free trade area, you can discover, is free trade. But common external tariff, no. Movement of factors of production, no. Economic union, no. Under customs union, look at the table. Yes, yes, no, and no. Under common market, yes, yes, and yes, and lastly, no. It's only under economic union that we have yes throughout in all those parameters of economic integration. Let me say this one. Whether it is ECOWAS or African Continental Free Trade Area, they agree on the movement of free trade area to customs union, to common market, and to economic union. So we have after now, which is African Continental Free Trade Area, which is the first phase. After this first phase, we are moving into what? African Continental Customs Union. After that one, we are moving into African Continental Common Market. After that one, we are moving into African Economic Union. But this has to be in phases. Let's now look at the emergence of economic integration of Africa. I'll be moving fast because my time is going. I've spent about 8 minutes, making 12. Okay. When the organization of African Union was put in place in 1963, our founding father has that, well, it's very important that after this colonization, we still have to economically integrate ourselves. Therefore, at different meetings, we have some revolutionary leaders, one from Ghana, one from Guinea, Algeria, Mali, Egypt, that say we have to do it now. It must be by force, quickly. We have another moderate leader that said, no, let's do it gentle by gentle. In 1965, you discover that a meeting that was held in Accra, in which Pan Nkrumah gave an address, particularly that is book that he released at that meeting, which is called Neocolonialism, the last stage of imperialism, made some developed countries to be annoyed, and that actually kick-started the end of Nkrumah. He was actually forced to go on Nessa and finally died. But African leaders did not stop. There was serious AU meeting in 1973, 1976, and that of Monrovia in 1979 continued to talk about economic integration. Because we have been integrated to our colonial masters. The ambition we want us to be heirs of wood and to have water for them, not to be industrial countries. And therefore in 1980, a very important step was taken under the Lagos Plan of Action. The we members said, let us concretize our economic integration. There's so much delay. And this demand was finally concretized under African Economic Community Treaty, which was finalized in Abuja in 1991, and it is titled that as a Abuja Treaty of 1991. The treaty has, in the objective, movement of free trade area, look at it in red, to custom union, to common market, and to economic union, which I mentioned. And it's going to be in phases, in stages. Stage 1, creation of regional bloc, where it does not exist, harmonization of intra-regional activities, development and strengthening of these activities across these regional blocks. Then, stage 3, establishment of free trade area and custom union. Stage 4, creation of continental free trade area. So, we are now at stage 4 of the African Economic Community Treaty of 1991. And then stage 5 is what? Is African Common Market. And then stage 6 is African Monetary Union and the Parliament. Now, despite this one, you can see that diagram. There is multiplicity and interlocking of regional economic community along Africa. In ECOWAS alone, we have other regional communities inside ECOWAS. So, I heard of say, we may not be able to arrive where we wanted. Let us actually recognize only 8. And that is why in that table you can see the only 8. So in ECOWAS where we have other regional economic community, when you look at number 6, it is only economic community of West African states that is recognized. In other areas, they recognize Arab Maghreb Union, Community of Sahel and Sahara, then Common Market for East and Southern Africa, and then East African Economic Community, IGAD and SADC. These are the 8 recognized economic community. So, and with these 8, ECOWAS want to move ahead and establish what? The establishment of the first phase, which is the free trade area of African continental free trade area. So this is the roadmap. We are going to start with the first phase of economic integration, which is free trade area. And then it started in June 2015. And then discovered that negotiating group was put in place in February 2016. It's expected by the end of December 2017, we are going to have after. But we did not have it until 3 months later, that is on 21st of March 2018. Now, the signing and ratification. Signing of the treaty was done on the 21st of March 2018. Ratification was concluded when 22 members, which is mandatory, was actually achieved on the 30th of May 2018, and the last country was Sierra Leone that's going to be it. Nigeria, our country here, Nigeria did not sign until July 7, 2019, and Nigeria ratified on 2020, December 5th. Now let me say this one. Unless you ratify, you are not a state party. And therefore, when after took off on the 30th of May 2019, Nigeria was never a state party, and therefore she wasn't qualified to be able to actually tell he should select his country as a hosting the place, or select any Nigeria to be the Secretary General of African Continental Free Trade Area. Nigeria knows, so it's not that they are cheating the country. You are late comer. When you are late comer, you can't say you are going to take the first position. So after ratification, anyway, country demand that they have to put in place necessary infrastructure and necessary agreement under that diagram to be able to make sure we benefit from African continental free trade area. After commenced January 2021, and then as at now, you can now see where we are in terms of ratification. 48 countries have ratified, 54 countries have actually signed. But if you want to know detail, you can see the detail under that particular map. What are the benefits of AFTA? The benefits of AFTA, I'm going to explain it under that diagram you are seeing. The diagram is sorted. Okay, I'll put it there. Right. Let's say that we have a company in Nigeria. That company can have affiliates across African countries. Right? It can have in Tunisia, it can have in Togo, it can have in Egypt, Kenya, Senegal, and Ghana. And that Nigerian company can source input for any of those countries. So also can it sell its product to any of those countries as well, because the framework agreement has allowed that opportunity. So you can see a lot of opportunity of interconnectivity of activity in terms of goods and services as a result of African continental free trade area. So contracting opportunity, outsourcing opportunity, vertical economic integration opportunity, as well as a lot of homogeneous and vertical integration. So this will lead to a lot of benefits, which is being discussed in the next slide. So it will enhance that, it will produce vertical and horizontal integration, it will enhance efficiency. So many benefits. Because my time is going, you are going to be seeing them as I believe that will be given to you for you to read. Now, what is the role of a regional economic community? This appears to be the center of what I should talk about. But I cannot talk about this one without first and foremost actually let you have those fundamentals I've been talking about. The regional economic community, which is SEC of AFTA, are the official pillars of African Economic Community Treaty. That is, ECOWAS, SADC, COMESA, they are so important. They are it's only through the regs that AFTA can achieve what he wanted to achieve. As I stated, AEC was set up as a gradual process through coordination and harmonization, as well as postgraduate integration of activity of the 8 regs, not the so many interconnecting regs with overlapping of jurisdiction of activities. Okay, therefore Article 19 of AFTA agreement provides that state parties, that is states that ratify AFTA, that they can be members of other regional economic community and regional arrangement of customs union, and whatever they have attained, they should maintain it. Look at ECOWAS. We have attained customs union, but we enter the first phase of economic integration of AFTA, which is just the first phase. But that will not destroy what we have reached. So AFTA is not to destroy your economic integration, but use it as what? As a building block. That is very important. So that's the great role of a regional economic community. Article 8.2 of the Protocol of Trade in Goods states that state parties that are members of other regs, which have attained, among others, higher level of elimination of customs duties, should maintain that one. But going to AFTA, and then after itself, we equally go into the next phase, which is the customs union. 2 other protocols and principles, which are mentioned in Article 5, say that AFTA should also be governed by preservation of acquis and best practices. Acquis means your current position and best practices that are actually from international conventions which members have signed across the world. The question is, how will that be blended into regional institutional architecture of AFTA and into continental integration schemes and action plan? Article 12.5 of AFTA agreement says, regs shall be represented. Actually done a lot to be able to make sure that its member states, each and every one of them, they enter AFTA under a very good policy environment which they are familiar with. In fact, every mechanism for engaging regional private sector through the Federation of West African Chamber of Commerce, that's FEMACI, has helped to consolidate the activities of the private sector and coincidentally I'm a consultant to FEMACI as well. So on and on goes
the activities which ECOWAS have done. But the main thing which I want to mention here is that the Commission equally uses its existing instruments such as the task force for free movement of persons and goods, ECOWAS initiatives relating to infrastructure projects, which somebody mentioned, as well as that of the Common Investment Code and policy. So not to bother you too much, what other things do we actually say can be used as a position of the REX in economic integration? Let me go to just to the last slide before we conclude. The REX are so important for successful implementation of AFTA, and therefore ECOWAS as an example has demonstrated this. I'm familiar with the activity of this African Economic Community Treaty. In fact, last year I was with the Court of Justice, and I see what they are doing in terms of making sure that they actually adjudicate in economic integration cases. Just about 2 weeks ago, myself and some other professors, we have to get a training for the ECOWAS Court of Justice also, so that they don't actually go into adjudicating cases in domestic environment, but looking into the cases that will affect diplomatic economic rupture among participating members of ECOWAS. Because with AFTA, our Court of Justice needs to be able to know this, and they have to be able to be ready for it. So, although some ECOWAS members said there are some certain things in the past which violate the principle of economic integration, like when the Nigeria closed border, some of us argue against it. In fact, coincidentally, that was the time I was training the custom people, and I talked to the head of customs, whatever. He said, "What do we have to say? Thank you for training us." I said, "The only thing I want to say is that under economic integration, you do close borders. You know what's happening, but I'm not bothered whether it's happy or not." That is the situation. Now let us just conclude. From time independence, there are a series of failed attempts of African members say to industrialize. The time has come. Commencement with legal plan of action to Abuja Treaty of 1991, and then to the commencement of AFTA in 2019 May. And right now, we are there in this country, Nigeria. We have National Coalition Office. Other countries have the same thing. And ECOWAS Commission is making sure that it plays its own part to be able to ensure that ECOWAS member states, the 50 members of them, they actually do their own individual role to be well integrated into AFTA. ECOWAS Commission equally respond to trade restrictive practices and making sure that member states caution themselves. After we undoubtedly create winners and losers, therefore, REX are better positioned to be able to make sure that those the minimization of the losses and maximization of the benefits should be their sole priority. They can equally play the role of mediating disagreement among member states. Thank you for listening to me.
We're having both the technical and the enlightenment, right? Are we still here? Yes. Everyone here, students, give yourselves a round of applause. Good. So next, we'll have a recap of the simulation we had. We're excited to see ourselves. We don't sound excited. We are. All right.
I'm here to just recap on what we had on the 24th and 25th of October when we had the Young Diplomats simulation. Before I go into it, I want to ask, is there any 10-year-old here? Is there any 10-year-old? I hope we are not too late to catch them young. According to Professor Asokoro, by 2063, the 10-year-old will be, which means a lot of you here, secondary school and universities, you're already old. You know, by 2063, many of you will have longer and whiter beard than myself. So we need to rush to ensure that we're able to actualize Agenda 2063 for the good of Africa. Now, on the 24th, we hosted secondary school students, and we were quite impressed with their performance. Somebody mentioned and said that he wished we had invited one or two of our honorables and distinguished senators to come and see how the students were making their presentation in Parliament. And on the 25th, we hosted the university students. They were also outstanding. Some of the things that we did, having introduced the simulation, the goals and objectives, the processes, we gave a motivational speech in the context of late barrister Ladipo Sholanke, who was the founder of the West African Students' Union in the British Empire, 1924-25, where he was able to get the British government to apologize to Africa because of the presentation that was made regarding Africans in an exhibition. And that was how, between himself, Kwame Nkrumah, and Nnamdi Azikiwe, began to mobilize Africans for independence of Africa. And this was well received by the students. Our executive director guided them through the simulations, letting them know what the goals were and the objectives. And the students all made their presentations based on the countries that they represented. They were able to look at the opportunities embedded in those countries and the challenges for development. And they were also able to identify countries that they could partner with. And then the negotiation section took place, where they traded their competitive advantage to be able to get votes from other countries. I wish we had Professor Aremu's presentation there. You can see that, like we said, you don't give for free because there will be disruption of your policies. So you look at your advantages, you look at your competitive advantages, and on the basis of that, you're able to trade relations with counterparts. And then the students all went into voting, or the representatives went into voting for their resolutions. After they had negotiated, we formed blocks, and each block made a presentation of their resolutions, and they were all voted. The resolutions were quite educative, and we intend to forward this to appropriate authorities. We also look at certain areas of facilitation, discussing protocol. When you are a diplomat, how do you act? How do you behave? How do you process things? What kind of language do you use? How do you brand your country and even brand yourself as a diplomat? All that were well received by the students. And after the resolution, the voting and the presentations, the high table was able to make its selection. And based on this selection, some students will be receiving award today. Basically, that's the recap. Thank you.
Thought process regarding what we just heard, would like to have Ambassador Safiu Olaniyan, Director of Africa Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to speak to us. Thank you.
Her Royal Highness, our distinguished fathers, professors, young diplomats, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ambassador Safi Olukayo Olaniyan. I'm a diplomat. My goodwill message will center around what I've heard in this hall. I'm not going to invent anything, but I'm going to be a little unconventional. I will dwell more on what is practical and not the textbook, because the practice is far removed from the textbook. When you get out there, it's a completely different ballgame, because every country has its own way of negotiating, and the goal is to do the best for their country. So, if this is a gathering of young diplomats, then I will be speaking to the young diplomats. First, the Africa we want is ours to be. And at the center of that, of building that Africa we want, are going to be diplomats populating the space. If we go back to when Nigeria was to be, it was started by people who acted as diplomats. And that was where we came from. For us to move forward concretely, that is where we also have to be. And for us to get to that future that we want to live in, that is where our dream should be. Since you can't clap with one hand, you need others to get to where you want to be. You need others within Africa, you need others outside Africa. Because at the end of the day, everything in this world is about how you manage others. And if you don't manage them well, then they will manage you the way they want. Which in any case may result in creating the Africa they want and control the narratives. And you play to the gallery. Today, as we speak, most of our education curriculum are drawn up by some other people to fulfill their own purposes. And we play to it. Whether it's mathematics, it's English, it's law, it's whatever it is. It's not our curriculum. I remember there was a time when Lin Kuan Yew came to Nigeria in 1967. He was in Nigeria, he was in Ghana, he was in some other places. Nigeria and Singapore got their independence around the same time. And he came to find out, by 1967, how far has Nigeria gone? How far has Ghana gone? And when he got to Nigeria, then we had UI, and he realized that the Vice Chancellor of UI was an art graduate. The Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Legon, read classes. And he went on like that. Then, at the end of his term, he asked, how do you expect these universities to produce builders? When those running them, their vision was to produce administrators, which those who set them up prepared them for. So, we improve our faculty of arts, and so we churn out administrators at the expense of building. And until today, that is still the narratives. An average Nigerian still does not believe that a Nigerian can do it. If you need an engineer now, they will say, oh, he's an international, whatever, let everybody bid. At the end of the day, we are most likely to believe in that engineer that came from without. Meanwhile, we are the ones to live with what they did. They will charge us for coming, they will charge us for discharging, they will also charge us for using it. So, what have we gained? Singapore did the opposite. And today their story, we know what it is. So, to start with, if you want to be a diplomat, you've got to have a courage of conviction. You've got to talk to yourself and say, do I believe in what I want to do? If you believe in it, if you are convinced, then you can convince others. But if you are not convinced, then it becomes insane. And that won't take you anywhere. Because you will see diplomats from other countries defending their the position of their country with utmost tenacity. You would think their life depends on it. Once upon a time in Nigeria, Africa, the whole of Africa waited for Nigeria to speak. I remember the speech of Nkrumah, the speech of Murtala Muhammad at the AU and all that. And after that, no one said nothing again. But somehow, we decided to backslide a little. Whereas, we are created to lead. If you take the map of Africa, put it on your table, it looks like a shotgun, isn't it? Visualize it, since you don't have it. Put it on the paper, put it on the desk and look at it. Where South Africa is, looks like the nozzle of the gun. Where West Africa is, looks like the butt. That's why you see ECOWAS doing all kinds of things. But where the trigger is Nigeria. So you can look at it again at your own spare time. So no matter how beautiful a gun is, if you don't pull the trigger, nothing happens. It's just a pack of metals. Those who have knowledge about kinetic actions and whatever, they know what it means. It will just be looking at you. You put it there, it's there. It won't do anything until someone pulls the trigger. So Nigeria is the trigger for Africa, and you are the one. You are the trigger. If you don't act, we will remain where we are. We can have African Continental Free Trade Area. We can have OAU. We can have AU. If we don't change the narratives, we'll keep on having the same result. So, the peaceful, prosperous, and integrated Africa that we wanted by 2063 is not going to happen because we wish it. It's going to happen if we work hard at it. And I mean, really work hard at it. We have to be convinced that this is the Africa we want. The only reason why God put us here in Africa is to make it a little better than we made it. And if we can't do that, then we have done nothing. And I mean, if we abandon this Africa, you know, for those of us who have traveled, when something happens in Nigeria, you will see every Nigerian out there telling you what is happening at home. And I do ask them, which home? You guys belong here now. We are the home base. We belong there. So we are the one that should worry. They say, no, our parents are there. I say, really? But when they want to talk about Nigeria, they say, that country. So the narrative we give to them is that, look, that is your inheritance. That is the only country you own. That Africa is the only country you can lay claim to. Any other place you are, if even they give you their passport, just misbehave a little, they can kick you out. Straight, they will not even think about it twice. So, whether you are planning to japa or japa that, whichever way it is, this is the only Africa you own. And whatever you make out of it will be yours. Anything else is a borrowed garment. And when it pleases them, they will show you the way to your father's house. That's the way it works in international politics. Anywhere you are, if you want to be a diplomat, one, be ready to have that courage of conviction. That yes, I am a Nigerian and the change begins with me. Development normally is driven by human. Out of everything I've heard, the most important thing I want to drive towards is the human capital development. No matter how beautiful the technology, without human, it's not useful. So we are the greatest asset Nigeria has. It's not technology, it's not anything else. It is the population of Nigeria. And every country, everywhere in the world, the youth have played a major role. But it has to be under the guardian of the elders. Because you may have the energy, you may not know the way to where you're going. And that is where some of us differ. When they say, no, the elders should step aside and then the youth should take over. To go to where? Do you really know where you want to go? So you may not like where the elders have taken us to today. But that is the best they can do. Everybody has their own challenges. You never know what they face. You never know the challenges they face. So it is not enough to say that, oh, they failed us. Because they deliver based on the opportunities available to them. Now is your time. And you have no choice than to deliver. So, I will urge you not to see problems in Nigeria. Because everywhere you go, there are problems. Anywhere you turn to, they have their own kind of problems. I can tell you there are more crimes in some other places than in the whole of Nigeria. Yes, crime is part of, there will always be bad guys. That's why we always have something to talk about. If everybody is good, then we will stop thinking. Some people will even have no job. So some elements of bad guys also make life go round because it keeps the good guys thinking. Normally, they say that evil thrives because good people do nothing. So, there will always be that, you will always see it, but the question you should ask yourself is, where do you want to belong? Do you want to be part of the problem, or you want to be part of the solution? So, if you want to be part of the solution, don't see problems, see challenges. And we have more than enough in Nigeria. And in those challenges, seek opportunities. And you will get to wherever you want to go. When COVID happened, some people were busy dying, but some people were busy making money. Yes, a lady in Norway came up with the idea of face masks made out of fabrics. And we were busy lamenting here. And people were busy sleeping in the hospital, nobody knew what to do, and then you are there, everybody's clapping, and then some people were doing politics and so forth. So, that lady started it, made so much money during COVID, she did not die because she has made up her mind that her goal was not to die. That she will live and she will outlive COVID. And she will make use of that opportunity because it was an opportunity. But the question is, what are you seeing? You will only see what you want to see. And it is what you see that defines you. So you can continue to see problems for as long as you want to see problems. If you go to the village, you will see your contemporaries who look twice as old as you are. Why? Because they are weighed down by problems. That is the only thing they see. And they think the solution to all their problem is money. But it's their head. They're using their head wrongly. Some people are using their head only to decorate their body. And if that is what you are doing, then you are not thinking. Because most human elements are using less than 10 or 20% of what they are capable of doing. We all sit down and lament, we don't think. Some people think of going to space. What do we think of doing? We are still trying to find roads to our villages, while some people are running to space. So is that how we are going to build the Africa we want? So it is a challenge that AU has thrown out to all of us alive, not just the youth, all of us alive. Because for those of us who are a little older, we also have to ask ourselves, where we are today, was that what we planned? Is where we are today where we plan to be? If not, then we also have to key into the agenda. If we throw it at the youth alone, they may have the energy, they may not have the capacity. So we have the capacity, but we may not have the energy. So we have to put the two together to be able to recreate that Africa that all of us want to live in. And I can tell you, like the Prof said, Africa is the only country that still has resources. But the tragedy of it is that everything is being made to convince you that you can't get to where you want to get to by merely having resources. But they want to keep you where you are by taking your resources and impoverishing you. I saw a video that said the byproducts of fuel alone can pay for the petroleum, can pay for the PMS. So which means somehow if we all think outside the box, things can be better done. But if all we do is lamentation, that alone won't take us where we want to go. Because one, like I said earlier on, you can't clap with one hand. Everybody thinks that, okay, it's the big man that has to fix Nigeria overnight. It's not going to happen. There are some people think, oh, it's the governor that is going to fix their state. It's not going to happen. I tell people that every Nigerian has a little piece of Nigeria on his shoulder. So the big question we don't like answering and we don't like asking is, what are you doing with the Nigeria in your hand? Because it is the aggregation of what we do that will transform Africa, that will transform Nigeria, that will transform your family, that will transform your household, that will transform your neighborhood, that will transform the region. If on the other hand we believe that it's some people who are to build it and we will come and live in it, it will never be built. Because whatever some people come to do, whether they give us money and they say they will build the infrastructure for us, they build the kind of infrastructure they want to benefit from. And when we were young, they say if even you give hoe to a stupid man, he's going to weed the soil towards himself. Even a stupid man. It's like if you get a loan of 10,000 naira at 1% payable in 10 years, calculate what your compound interest will be. And imagine, why is it that the financial world will ask you to pay the interest first up front before you pay the principal? That is what they eat. But you are happy. You're thinking of today, you're not thinking of tomorrow. Yes, today you may be happy, but what about those who come after? So, development is driven by human capital and human elements, as I said, and their mindset, their capacity, their drive, their conviction, the will to achieve success will take them to where they want to go. Other than that, if we concentrate on building roads, which is good, build road for who? If you don't build the human element, it is the human element that will destroy the road. We have seen it. We have seen people cutting light poles, rail, whatever. They go and remove it and they carry it. Somebody even attempted taking a railway coach. Yes, it happened. Railway coach. And he attempted loading it on a trailer to be taken to somewhere else. And he was dropping names everywhere. So, technology, yes, technology for what? We're the one to use it. We all have Android phones. But if I ask you, how many of those icons on the phone do you really know how to use? Only very few here will know how to use 5. By the time you know where you press it and it calls. WhatsApp. What else? Only very few people do LinkedIn. Email. What else do people do? Instagram. TikTok. Finish. But go and check China. What Chinese do on TikTok. Is that what we do? They sell. They do business on TikTok. They don't watch video. They have no time for it. They want to make money. They want to make their own life. They want to make things a little better than they made it. For themselves, and they know that on the aggregate, it will be for everybody. But money, yes. But where does the money go to? Cooking pot. So you eat the transfer from abroad. But we like the statistics and say so many billions or trillions of dollars came from the diaspora into Nigeria. But what is the effect? Where is it? Yes, somebody transfer money for Ileya festival, for Christmas, for somebody who was sick, whatever. At the end of the day, the money looks huge. But where is it? What is the effect? Don't worry, I'm finished. So, In summary, all that we dream of, all that we want to achieve, all that you see that is not right with Nigeria today, I can tell you what is right with Nigeria is more than enough to correct what you perceive as not right. Because it is a game of opportunity, and it's also a game of what you do and your conviction that this Africa, we're going to build it together. I thank you.
I was asked to present this award to you. So on behalf of African Diplomat Forum, I'm sure that the young people is appreciating you. And this is to say that we want to have you very close to us. We want you to be very good for us. You have a lot to give to us. You have seen it all. So on their behalf, presenting this award of appreciation to you. Please don't be far away from us. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much. I do appreciate. I hope I'm not too old to be a member.
As a patron.
So I'm in. I don't have a problem with that because we are all in it together. We don't have any other place to go. Thank you.
This room that on a good day you wouldn't even get to hear the opinion about things or what they know of their expertise. So please take advantage. Don't look at the fact that, it's Friday, I'm tired. No. This is an opportunity for you to grow. This is an opportunity for you to take your lives to the next level. So please, I hope you're taking notes because you have your memo pads and your pens, so there's no excuse. Let's take advantage of our special guests here. Next is, we'll invite Her Majesty, Oloria Tuwashe III, the co-convener of Elevate Africa, the Africa We See. And she'll be speaking on leveraging on cultural diplomacy to achieve African integration. She'll be represented by her Chief Operating Officer, Abuja.
I would like to bring very warm regards from Her Royal Majesty Oloria Tuwashe III, the Queen Consort of the Warri Kingdom. She is very much delighted to have received this invitation, and she's honored to be speaking to such young and bright minds. I would like to also appreciate the Executive Director, Ambassador Valentina Ofureke Uchebu, alongside the board and the advisory board, and other excellencies, dignitaries, and of course the young minds who were here to celebrate today. I read her speech. From the office of Her Royal Majesty Oloria Tuwashe III, Queen Consort of the Warri Kingdom, Delta State, Nigeria. Honorable guests, esteemed dignitaries, excellencies, young diplomats, and my fellow Africans. It is an absolute honor to stand before you today at this significant gathering of bright minds, future and current leaders of our continent. I bring warm greetings from the Warri Kingdom and His Royal Majesty Ogiame Atuwashe III, CFR, the 21st Olu of Warri Kingdom. On this Africa Youth Day, my heart is filled with immense hope as I think of you all seated here, our continent's torchbearers. We are all here today not only to imagine, but to begin to create and continue the work of a new Africa. An Africa defined by unity, resilience, and progress. Today's gathering, inspired by the vision, the Africa we want, is metamorphosing into the Africa we see and the Africa we are developing. It is my understanding that this shared aspiration is not just of me, but of everyone seated here today. It is a vision that seeks to transform Africa into a beacon of global influence, with a future rooted in our collective strengths and talents. We are at a pivotal moment in history, with an extraordinary opportunity to reshape the narrative of our beloved continent. One of the cornerstones of this transformation lies in African economic integration by harnessing the force of our traditional heritage for cultural diplomacy. Cultural diplomacy as Africa's soft power. In the realm of diplomacy, culture is often an underestimated force, while trade agreements, economic policy, and political alliances are vital and are at the forefront. It is without a doubt our culture, shared values, languages, and traditions that bind us most strongly as Africans. Cultural diplomacy is the soft power that fosters unity, bridges divides, and provides fertile ground for sustainable development. Africa's cultural richness is unmatched, from the vibrant markets of Lagos Island to the ancient streets of Timbuktu, from the rolling hills of the Serengeti to the artistry and storytelling embedded in each of our unique communities. Our continent is a mosaic of the artistry that God created through languages, tradition, and history. Within this diversity is an opportunity to utilize our cultural heritage as a solid foundation for dialogue, as a solid foundation to foster respect and collaboration. How can we think that they would see us, recognize us, if we would not tell them who we are authentically and stand in our strength? Unity is the lifeblood of Africa's progress. Economic integration cannot succeed unless we see ourselves as one people with shared goals that is borderless. You are not a Kenyan or a Gambian or a Nigerian. You are an African. Our cultural diplomacy will allow us to nurture this unity by celebrating our individual identities, but embracing our common humanity. Our traditional leadership structures, monarchies, clan leadership, grassroots leadership, play a critical role in this process. In Nigeria, for as long as we have been united, the monarchy, traditional leadership systems, cultural systems have been a symbol of continuity, bridging our past with our present, and guiding our communities towards the future. In the Warri Kingdom, as it is in other cultural centers across Africa, traditional leadership stands as a custodian of cultural values, ethics, and wisdom. Our traditional institutions are the historical bearers of peace and unity. They embody the voice of the people and provide a common ground where cultural differences are honored yet transcended into indigenous solutions, into sustainability for growth, and into a oneness of the people. This form of leadership, while a dying form now in Africa that is supposed to be a continent of kings, this leadership can unify within and outside our borders to foster exchange that encourages solidarity and mutual understanding amongst our nations. Integration isn't merely a political ideal, but a lived experience built on relationships, shared goals, and mutual respect. The role of cultural diplomacy in fostering integration is fundamental. By embracing our diverse traditions and sharing our cultural assets, we deepen and catalyze collaboration across African borders. Grassroots, state and national programs that promote knowledge exchange, languages and cultural festivals serve as the platform where young Africans can connect, learn from one another, and grow as ambassadors of a united Africa. Such initiatives, whether government or privately owned, should be strengthened and supported to scale up beyond its current capacity. This forum is one of such initiatives. Other initiatives like Elevate Africa and Royal Warrior Foundation, initiatives of the Warri Kingdom monarchy, embody these values. At Elevate Africa, also known as We Elevate Africa, we are creating platforms to empower young Africans, telling stories that reflect our culture, our resourcefulness, and is apt to rewrite the African narrative to emphasize our capacity to lead, innovate, and unite across ethnicity, across tribes, across nationality, and across gender and age gaps. The Royal Warrior Foundation focuses on the human capital and economic empowerment of the Warri Kingdom and the wider Niger Delta region. Through grassroots strengthening initiatives on education, empowerment, and environment, His Royal Majesty and I strive to uplift our people by drawing strength from our cultural heritage. A case study is the Royal Warrior Foundation Scholarship Fund and our free school located in Iyara community in Warri, through which we are raising future leaders from underserved, rural, and Verine communities through the power of education, culture, history. We are instilling in them the ability and platforms to become ambassadors of African values and innovation everywhere in the world they find themselves, which is also my desire for every young African in this room listening to my speech. Economic integration isn't sustainable without regional stability and cooperation. Conflicts are often born out of misunderstanding and a lack of exposure to each other's culture. If you go to the West within the Nigerian context, it is expected of you to genuflect when you greet an elderly person. When you go to the East, most likely you would find able-bodied men and young girls standing to greet with dignity and pride. If an Easterner went to the West without an understanding of these cultural nuances, while he stood strong to greet an elderly person, they would assume he were rude or ill-mannered. Now take this context and apply it to several conflicts, issues that are born and bred within Africa and that spill to outside its borders. It's no different. Cultural diplomacy, knowledge transfer can bridge these divides, allowing us to address disputes not as adversaries, but as partners who understand and respect one another's heritage and identity. Through cultural exchanges, we can bring and build leaders, artistry, academics, and the youth to create opportunities that transcend what we have been able to do. The future leaders are not coming tomorrow. They are here. They are people as far as the side of Asia. Yes, if you go on YouTube, you will find some very interesting videos of Asians dancing to Davido's music or repeating word for word a Fela song. I kid you not, you should try it. It's really humorous. And all of these things towards what goal? Towards the development of Africa, towards the recognition of African brilliance, and towards the creation of tables that include Africans, that are built by Africans and for Africans. Imagine then the potential and the impact if we're able to harness this cultural power across other domains. Imagine we're able to replicate the world's acceptance of our Afrobeat music in business, in education, in technology. As we implement the African Continental Free Trade Area and increase inter-African trade and collaboration, these are things we look forward to. To the young diplomats here today, I am especially very proud of you. Any young person who would agree to be seated in the current world of distractions is somebody who's been trained well, who understands where they are coming from, and is willing to go far, not just alone, but together. So I implore you to see yourselves as ambassadors of the African culture. What is the African culture, you might ask? That is something that needs deeper insights. It needs a thought process. You need to sit down and think, what kind of African do I want to be? Then only will you be able to answer that question. Please use culture as a bridge, not a barrier. Your tribe, your culture, where you're from, is supposed to be a gateway and not a barricade. As you fan the flames of the vision which this forum is preaching, you must always remember that every diplomatic relationship is strengthened when built on mutual respect, cultural appreciation, and a shared vision for Africa's future. You are the architects of the Africa we want, I have no doubt. And you are the cultural diplomats, and your most effective tool in overcoming challenges which you will encounter on your journey to developing Africa is a lack of understanding of your culture. But if you know your culture, if you regard your culture, and you are able to understand other people's cultures around you, unity and integration is what awaits you. As we celebrate the Africa Youth Day, let us renew our commitment to elevating African voices, solutions, and innovations. Together, through cultural diplomacy, we can dismantle outdated narratives that has kept us divided for far too long, and instead write a new story, one of unity, progress, and shared prosperity. At the institutions which I have founded and led, we are answering this call by supporting leaders, thinkers, and builders of tomorrow. I also invite each of you to embark or support other people's journeys who are channeled towards this vision as well, to make cultural diplomacy the foundation of our integration efforts and to create a future where Africa's unity is its greatest strength. Thank you all. God bless the Warri Kingdom. God bless Nigeria, and God bless Africa. Thank you.
Your Majesty, Olori Atuashitri, for the enlightening speech. And next on the agenda is the award presentation to students on diplomatic categories, which will be executed by the Executive Director of the African Young Diplomatic Forum in person of Ambassador Valentina.
The first category will be to our special guest. We would like to ask Emmanuel to give us the honor to present the awards.
On behalf of African Youth Diplomatic Forum, to Professor Tunji Asalo, Prof. Professor Asalo is the Chief Executive of African Diplomat School, which awards certification for executive masters. He wears many caps, and he is also a stakeholder in the African Young Diplomatic Forum. Professor, kindly have this for us. He is an enthusiast of the African Young Diplomats Forum based in Sierra Leone. He is not able to make it to this meeting, but on his behalf, I call on Ms. Fatima Jallo, who is the country manager of African Young Diplomats Forum, Sierra Leone. Olori Atuashe III, Queen Consort of the Warri Kingdom. She will be receiving this on her behalf.
So we're going to start with the Certificate of Excellence. And we call upon the Hajia Adaji from the National Productivity Council to please present their awards on our behalf. Simulation representation of total energy. So Derek Taffa represented Total Energies and he was among the sponsors of their resolution. Derek Taffa spoke well and they represented Block 1 and their block was voted as the best resolution for the simulation. Let's give him a round of applause. Next we call Goma Aguirre, representative of Côte d'Ivoire. She is a co-sponsor for Block 1 for the secondary school simulation. Samuel Omale, representation of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Samuel Omale was a sponsor for Block 2. He participated actively and stood out. Samuel Omale. Let's give him a round of applause as he comes out. Congratulations. Next up, Sophia Lakali, Wando PLC. Sophia Lakali was a co-sponsor for the Block 2 resolution. She participated actively. Sophia Lakali, Wando PLC. Next up, Shekinah Adeleye, representation of Ghana. After Shekinah, Fatima Hussein. Let's make it quick. Shekinah Adeleye. Next, Fatima Husseini, UNICEF. Co-sponsor for Block 3. Very active participants. Wow. Next up, Gift Vincent, representative of Kenya. I see the surprise on her face. They didn't have enough time to prepare their diplomatic simulations, but she stood out. So today we are giving her certificate of excellence. Gift Vincent.
No, wait.
Next, Chiamaka Ogu. She also participated actively. Chiamaka Ogu, Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso. Can we have Sir Obina Uchebu? For universities, and this will be presented by the Director, National Orientation Council, National Orientation Agency. Representative of Ethiopia. From the round of applause, we can guess. So she was a sponsor. Next, Awofesho Toluwanimi, representative of Cameroon. Next up, Adeze Ike Asiebu, representative of Ghana. Next, we have Moses Okoroma, representative of Burundi. Every student did very well. You know, there's some that always, but everybody here is a winner. Moses Okoroma, after Adeze Ike. And this is a simulation that will continue to go on, so we all have opportunities to shine.
Oh, first lady, what?
French.
Oh, French lady, yes.
For you. Representative of Burundi, Moses Okoroma. Esther Adesoye, Senegal. Esther Adesoye, representative of Senegal. Next, Halima Sadia Mustafa, representative of Mali. Oh, I see her today. Is Sadia here? Next, Eperetu, representative of the Gambia. Okay. Okay, so I would like to even apologize. I'm sorry, sir. Representative of Gambia. Next, Esao Gene Awotohe, representative of Nigeria.
Can I have a flag for Nigeria?
So she's collecting on behalf of the representative of Mali.
Let me have where is our...
Esao Gene, representative of Nigeria. Yay!
From National Rotation Agency too.
Next, Chisom Anichebe, representative of UNICEF. There are different categories: the outstanding diplomat, the outstanding negotiator, outstanding leadership, the best diplomatic stance, and the best diplomatic personality of the year. Are we ready? All right, Simon, can we have the honors, please? Ministry of Foreign Affairs, outstanding negotiator. Okay, Aisha Mohammed is here. Outstanding diplomat. Congratulations.
Hello, sir.
She represented the Democratic Republic of Congo. Go and shine, you're our stars. Ministry of Foreign Affairs, outstanding negotiator, Samuel Amadi. Next, outstanding leadership, Highlander Goji. From the class, we did something right, didn't we? Let's give him a round of applause. Outstanding leadership, Highlander Goji.
There.
Best diplomatic stance, Philip Ojonugwa, representative of Uganda. In fact, I wanted to go to Uganda after I heard him talk. Congratulations. You look like you look different. You look like Are you from Uganda? Congratulations. So for the best diplomatic personality of the year, drum rolls, Derek Taffa, Total Derek Taffa, Total Energies, best diplomatic personality of the year.
Imagine when I was in school, that was the one I got. Come out me. Come.
Congratulations. Wow. Thank you very much. So next, the categories for university students, we'd like to call upon Ambassador Young Pero to present the award. For university category, Esau Gene Owatori, representative of Nigeria. Congratulations. You did well. You look Nigerian. Yes. Because Nigeria did not stand up. Outstanding leadership, Moses Okoroma, representative of Burundi. Outstanding leadership.
Now we're diplomats.
Best diplomatic stance. And there is the IK Asiebu, representative of Ghana. They really worked hard. Thank you. Congratulations. Outstanding negotiator. University category, Chiso Manichebe, UNICEF. Best diplomatic personality of the year, Halima Sadia Mustafa, representative of Mali. There was a final negotiation she did that made her stand out. So I've been authorized by my partner, the co-founder, to declare that all awardees will have the opportunity to attend the Africa Young Diplomats Youth Conference in Sierra Leone with special support.
Yeah.
All right, so next, with all the excitement, we are going to go into the next keynote speech by our statutory board member, Sir Emmanuel.
I just want to emphasize this. The simulation was a platform to help students be able to identify problems, which they did very well. They identified the problems of their countries, and it is also a solution-driven platform. They were able to identify solutions for those problems that were identified. It was also a platform for decision-making through consensus building and Africa integration. So they identified individual countries and solutions, and they had the presence of mind to be able to negotiate, and through consensus building they formed blocks, and those blocks were able to present resolutions. And also it's a platform for positive developmental clubbing, youth clubbing, to see the AYDF as a platform, a preferred platform for youth clubs activities. My keynote address, when I was preparing this paper, I was thinking more about the students, how they can assimilate what I want to speak through. For the adults, I think it will also benefit you, even if I have watered down the language that I would have loved to use. My paper is on balancing Pan-Africanism and nationalism to achieve economic integration, the role of African youths. Pan-Africanism, as defined, embodies the rich history and culture of Africans past to present. It is rooted in antiquity and champions the values born from African civilizations and the fight of emancipation, first from slavery all through colonialism, down to neo-colonialism and racism. Its goal is to foster unity among all people of African descent, including those in the diaspora. Pan-Africanism is based on the belief that African people all over the world share a common history and destiny. This idea led to the creation of the Organization of African Unity in 1963. So what am I saying here? All I'm saying is that there has been, from time immemorial, a grouping of Africans, to try to emancipate themselves, first from slavery. Africans came together, people like Orlando Ekwano and others fought for slavery, even when they were slaves themselves. Having been emancipated, they now fought to emancipate others from slavery. Marcus Garvey and such like names you will come across when discussing Pan-Africanism. Then you have the Ladipo Solanke and the Nnamdi Azikiwe and the Kwame Nkrumah fighting through the platform of Pan-Africanism, fighting colonialism. So after slavery, they had to fight. And down into the 60s, the 70s, the early 80s, even to present, we're trying to use Pan-Africanism to fight neo-colonialism and the endemic racism. So that's Pan-Africanism. Now let's define nationalism. Nationalism, however, is a broader concept that applies to every race and culture. It is the idea that a nation should align with the state, promoting the interests of a specific nation to achieve and maintain self-governance. Nationalism aims to build a unified national identity based on shared culture, ethnicity, language, and history, advocating for national unity and solidarity. So, nationalism didn't start with Africans. The Europeans came together because we have to balance these two to be able to achieve African integration. Without a proper balancing, there can be no African integration. So the question that begs for answer is whether it is possible to be both Pan-Africanist and nationalist at the same time. For while Pan-Africanism has aimed to decolonize, unify, and solve Africa's colonial and other socio-economic challenges through a united front against the Western colonial powers and other agents of oppression and racism, nationalism often poses impediments towards integration by prioritizing the protection and desires of individual nation states from the point of view of the stance of their heads of government. This tension makes it hard to achieve regional integration and Pan-Africanist goals. It can therefore be argued that the moral value of nationalism does not easily allow for it to be compatible with Pan-Africanism. Hence, the current divisions within and between countries on the continent and within communities in the diaspora. What am I saying here? There are Africans will naturally tell you that we are Pan-Africanists, but nationalism does not allow us to project that Pan-Africanism. You heard what Professor Aremu said, that Nigeria came late to the table when they were signing the AFTA agreement. Why? Because the president of Nigeria, Buhari, felt that it would be disadvantageous to Nigeria. Nigeria will be a dumping ground for all products coming from other countries in Africa, because we have the funds, we have the population, but we don't have the electricity, we don't have industrialization. And like he said, a Ghanaian could import from China, and then based on the AFTA agreement, ship his goods to Nigeria at a cheaper rate than how it is being produced in Nigeria. So you discover that because of nationalism, every head of state, every country wants to prioritize its nationhood above all else, and that has been the bane of or the challenge against Pan-Africanism being effective in Nigeria. And that is the present challenge we are having for the AFTA agreement to be realized or realizable. Again, you heard what Professor Aremu said, because you have to collapse your custom union, you have to collapse your economic union, you have to collapse your trade policies and all of that to fit into AFTA. And if your country is not ready for it, then it can't happen. And how does this affect Agenda 63? Nigeria, for example, is talking about the Lagos-Calabar highway. And there is dissent in the country. So how do we do the Lagos-Gambia highway? How do we do the Nigeria-Namadi train route from between Nigeria and Niger if Nigerians themselves feel that their position, if they allow for these things to happen, will betray our nationalism. Today, you see that South Africa is petitioning Miss Universe against Chidima's participation in the Miss Universe contest. Why? Because they felt it's a slap in their face that somebody from a Nigerian Mozambique lady who was refused to participate in the Miss South Africa contest could come to Nigeria, win it, and then go and represent Nigeria in the Miss Universe contest. So how will Pan-Africanism thrive? If South Africa can go the lengths to prevent a beauty queen from contesting, but the same South Africa will stand before the International Court of Justice to fight for the Palestinians against Israel. So many times you find that nationalist inclination affect the larger Pan-Africanist goals. Historical figures like Nnamdi Azikiwe and Kwame Nkrumah faced this dilemma. While Nnamdi Azikiwe was called the biggest danger of the lot of Pan-Africanism by no less a person than the colonial secretary Oliver Stanley, he had to bow to the peculiarities of the budding Nigerian state in order not to lose political relevance and possibly the highest office in the land. His posture became that of Zik of Africa to the rest of the world, while in Nigeria he succumbed to the strong arm of pragmatic regional politics. Nnamdi Azikiwe was probably the biggest threat to the British Empire because he was pulling all of African states together. But in Nigeria, he was not even allowed to sit for election in the Western House because, as the Western people said, he was not a Yoruba. So if within in-country regionalism prevailed over Pan-Africanism, you could imagine what would happen if Nnamdi Azikiwe were a Ghanaian seeking for election in Nigeria. Kwame Nkrumah, even as the head of Ghana's government, continued to champion the quest for regional integration of the whole of the African continent. Between 1958 and 1959, he worked with other African leaders to establish a non-aligned African identity in global affairs by advocating unity between the African states on international relations. Despite his efforts, Kwame Nkrumah was viewed with suspicion by many of his contemporaries who regarded him as a megalomaniac whose only real ambition was to rule the entire African continent. That is how they saw him. Oh, he's championing Pan-Africanism because he has a goal. He wants to be the first president of Africa. That's what many other leaders could see. They didn't bother to see the benefits of Pan-Africanism and what Kwame Nkrumah was championing. Many independent African countries opposed Nkrumah's desire for a politically unified Africa because they viewed it as a threat to their national sovereignty and personal ambition. Again, you wonder why somebody like Kwame Nkrumah, who was championing Pan-Africanism, would prefer to go to Russia to buy socialism and communism, because that was part of the threat. That was why even the Western world fought against him. If you are indeed a Pan-Africanist, why not develop Pan-African system of governance? So was he going to transform all of Africa into a socialist continent? This was the fear of the Western world, and that's why they had to sponsor the coup that removed Kwame Nkrumah. And that's why a lot of his contemporaries were even scared of him. So he had a nationalist idea for Ghana, and he wanted to impose that nationalist idea for all of Africa. So you see the contradictions between Pan-Africanism and nationalism. Another name we should look at, the same suspicion was cast upon Muammar Gaddafi of Libya as he tried to promote Pan-Africanism. Muammar Gaddafi was all over Africa promoting Pan-Africanism. He championed the African unity more than his contemporary heads of state, calling for a United States of Africa. Even as his effort brought about the OAU being re-engineered, Gaddafi's overbearing presence frustrated the smooth functioning of the AU. He had this overbearing presence. He came to Nigeria, all his bodyguards were female soldiers. He wanted to impose his ideas. He saw himself as the lion of Africa. And a lot of countries were very uncomfortable with that. So his greatest achievement was, okay, let's change the principles of OAU and then we engineer it to become AU, you know. But even at that, AU could not function. And when the president of Rwanda was made the chairman of the committee that will fully reorganize AU, for 5 years, AU could not function. Why? Because suspicion was transferred to the president of Rwanda. So when you talk of Pan-Africanism and nationalism, you have to rationale. How do we balance it such that it will not just be Africa in the name, but Africa in reality? Even one of their fellow presidents, Julius Nyerere of Tanzania, spoke of the OAU as a committee of dictators, people who never wanted to leave office, people who never sought election in their countries. So how could these same people champion Pan-Africanism? Who amongst these dictators will be the first African president? These were all the things, undertones, why all the instruments of the AU could not function. So the opposing pole of Pan-Africanism and nationalism. So Pan-Africanism is going this way, nationalism is going this way. Or their conflicting goals have prevented a cohesive Afrocentrism or Afrocentrism. Countries want to maintain their independence while superficially promoting African unity. You can see what has just happened between Mali, Burkina Faso. Now they have opted out of a bloc, the ECOWAS bloc. So how would the Regional Economic Council that is ECOWAS function when 3 of its members have left the bloc? And they left it arbitrarily, without protocol. Whereas when Britain, the UK, wanted to leave the European Union, they followed protocol. If you would have heard of Brexit, it took them time to sever or to come out of that EU membership. But in Nigeria, once the head of state decides that he's tired of this kind of relationship, he just breaks out. There's no referendum, there's absolutely nothing to determine whether the country should remain or not. So superficially, everyone is promoting African unity, and that's why Africa is going nowhere. Heads of government want to maintain their sphere of influence over their people, economies, and foreign religious affiliations. There are many countries who prefer to go with the Islamic community and ignore the rest of Africa. There are those who are clamoring to be members of BRICS and do not care anything about AFTA. So all of these dynamics are affecting African unity. At the end of the day, we have a monolithic Africa, or a black identity that takes us nowhere. This has led to inconsistent treaty implementation, ineffective governance, the failure to protect Africans from their homemade tyrants, and the almost lack of relevance of the African Union in addressing key issues and facilitating good governance, human rights adherence, foreign relations for the defense of the Africans from racism and discrimination, and even as a mediator. You can see what is happening between the Israel-Palestinian wars. Even the Middle East countries had to co-opt the African Union to speak on behalf of the Palestinians. The AU has not spoken on behalf of Sudan, that is tearing itself apart with the civil war. The AU has not, on behalf of the Democratic Republic of Congo, that has been fighting perpetual war. But the AU is speaking for the Palestinians. The AU, through South Africa, they are championing BRICS. And the BRICS doesn't even have an African name apart from South Africa. It's Brazil, it's Russia, it's India, it's China, and South Africa. But the AU is championing all of that, and you're not hearing anything about the AU in what is happening in the Sahel. Since 1960s, Pan-Africanism has been the platform for advocating political and economic union among African countries. It gained little agreement then amongst its members, and now is struggling for the full support of AFTA. And the AU Agenda 2063, I don't think 90% of the African population have heard, not that they have heard but they don't understand, but 90% of Africans have not heard of Agenda 2063. So if you have not heard of Agenda 2063, how do you implement Agenda 2063? What will these youths do between now and 2063? Now, this Agenda 2063 took off in 2013. So for 11 years, we are supposed to have been operating Agenda 2063. But it really hasn't started because there is no buy-in from the various states and its population. So to balance Pan-Africanism and nationalism for Africa's development, we must focus on economic stability, effective resource management and unity. We need to revisit the Pan-African philosophy to fight the new enemies called poverty and misrule, knowing that the enemy is no longer slavery or colonialism. Subnationalism and ethno-nationalism have weakened true Pan-Africanism and given rise to countries that find it hard to commit to the AU Charter. While we must focus and act on the reasons for which it became necessary for the OAU to transform into AU, and for why it became necessary to fashion the Agenda 2063 AU vision and the AFTA, let us go back to see what we can draw from such instruments that underscored the alliance between Pan-Africanism and nationalism, to see how we can remodel these two philosophies and movements to better the lot of Africans, and once and for all establish what the African identity is to the Gen Z generation, in whose hand is the future of Africa. Most of you are the Gen Z, and I don't think you even understand what the African identity is, because you have not been exposed to it. Over 200 years ago, people moved from Ireland to the US. Today, they still have roots in Ireland. During the Second World War, so many Jews moved to America. And today, the Jewish population of America are still championing, they are lobbying the government of America to continue to build Israel. All through the 40s and 50s and 60s, Arabs have, and up to today, Arabs are migrating to Europe and to America, and they have not forgotten the Middle East. The Indians, the Pakistanis practically own the UK today, especially London, where an Arab man is the mayor of London. But their focus is to take their culture to these places and also use Europe and America to impact the Middle East, to impact India, to impact Pakistan. However, the black man leaves his country or jackpats out of his country and goes into purposeful slavery. Why does he go into purposeful slavery? Because he has no African identity. All he thinks of is, how do I remit monies to my fathers in Africa? Nothing to do with African development. I will just rush this and then have you to read them. Let me just go to that part of my paper, because I hear that the students are supposed to focusing on unity, solidarity, self-determination, and a collective consciousness for the future of Africa. For how the African youth can participate in the economic integration of Africa. Here is a truth we need to face. The unity and prosperity of Africans, both on the continent and in the diaspora, is not a priority for any other race or region. Sadly, it is not even a priority for our African governments. So, what do we do? The African youth must understand that they must forge their own path without becoming beggars, harlots, or suggestible puppets for foreign powers. So you have to direct your own destiny. Unlike some elders, they must respect life and decency, because most of our elders don't respect life and decency in Africa. The youth must fight for good governance and champion it at all levels of society, because it is becoming harder to find elders that have conscience or vision or are of stellar quality. If the youth leave the elders to their ways, listen carefully, if you leave your elders to their ways, history may repeat itself, with elders who sold vibrant youth into slavery, elders who served as agents of neocolonialism, undermining the gains of independence, elders who have been non-committal to the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, but would rather ship our stolen national wealth overseas to the detriment of the African economy. With this in mind, the youth must be prepared to take his or her destiny into their hands. The internet and social media are powerful platforms to facilitate the integration of African youth, fostering cultural, entrepreneurial, and educational linkages. The ability to connect instantly and build a Pan-African e-network across the continent and diaspora could hasten the rise of a collective African identity. Instead of focusing on political revolution, which carries seeds of anarchy and social trauma, I support the idea that African youth should use entrepreneurship, culture, in quotes, in bracket, music, fashion, travels, food, tourism, technology, innovation, twinning, diplomacy, and the research and understanding of shared African history for the furtherance of Pan-Africanist philosophy. The African Young Diplomats Forum provides a platform for discerning African youth to make a difference in the economic integration of Africa. Thank you.
We want to appreciate you, sir. You've been very helpful to us in formulating everything that is happening today. You've guided us, you've advised us, and so today we want to appreciate you deeply as our statutory board member. Thank you very much, sir, for all you do.
Let him be in the middle.
We're going to present the awards, the certificates of merit for the schools that participated, and would like to ask the representative of the lower Mori, Madam Ogechi Ezeobiora, to come present the award. So, Maitama, can we have a representative, please? Model Secondary School. Thank you very much. Next up, now University. Now University.
This is our go-to university.
Thank you very much.
Sir.
And next, the School of Action VP, Britac Schools. Britac Schools. All right, thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. All right, so we're going to go quickly through the goodwill messages. 5 minutes, please, so that we've already overshot our time. But even if you see the secondary school children leaving, we still have lots of youth in the hall. The students of Now University and University of Abuja will still be in the hall. So never mind, we will still get to the secondary school children when they are. Thank you very much. So first, can we have Brigadier General Oloko, please? Thank you very much. To the Army Museum. Thank you, sir.
Good morning. Afternoon already. Hi, table, sir. I am going to give a goodwill message to the leaders of tomorrow. Just like you said, sir, many of the things we do wrongly. And for you out there, do not imitate everything we do. I have a 13-year-old daughter, my last seed. Yes, my last seed. The type of questions this young girl will ask keeps my brain going. I must think. To it, African Young Diplomat Forum 2024 on the agenda, 2063, the Africa we want, by my humble self. Just look at the PhD and forget about the DSS, MSS, FSS. If they tell you, you won't live here. Good. You can see those two photographs there. When I was a child and as a young soldier. Keep your photographs because you need them for references and for other reasons. I read, I find it imperatively necessary to thank the organizers of this very important summit for inviting me to speak to our tomorrow's leaders. I am Brigadier General O.L. Oloko, retired, a PhD holder, a consultant with the Nigerian Army Museum in Abuja. I retired in 2019 after serving Nigeria for 37 years, 21 days without blemish. I came into the army at the age of 15 and I rose through the rank till I got to the rank of Brigadier General. So you can do it. I will start by telling you what two people I value most in my life. One is gone, one is alive. Gani Odutoku, my supervisor at ABU in 1994, I did my master's. And the one that supervised me for my PhD program is the present VC of Ladoke Akintola University, Professor Rom Khalidu. And I could say, do not allow your present situation determine how far you go in life. I was the son of a soldier, a sergeant, 3 stripes. My father. What made me to come into the army? I took food to him in his duty post. And they told him to hold his ears. And they doubled him. I looked at my father and I said, this job, I will come in. And I will get to the rank of this young man who did this to my father. And I got to that rank in 1996. 96 to this time is how long? So many years. I was a captain in 1996. I surpassed it and got to the rank of Brigadier General in 2019. So you can do so many things. Do not allow your present situation shake you. We are all born to contribute to our own quota, human development and nation building. It's a process with time, better management, tenacity, doggedness to remain steadfast in getting the Africa we want in a few years' time. My message will, among others, inspire, motivate, encourage you towards positivity, empowerment, and guidance. Look at these photographs. They are dear to me. You will have situations in your life, your marriages. Look at this young, tomorrow's leader who came before us here. They were so happy. They were presented with awards. They will keep it. Tomorrow one of them will become the governor of the state or minister of Federal Capital Territory. And will show to them, I was honored. I did this. That photograph you're seeing was when I got married in 1999, 16th October. The second one was when I was honored. The son of a sergeant rose to the rank of a general. And after 5 years, we were sent for and they pulled me out. We call it pulling out ceremony. It's only meant for generals. If you come into the service and you don't rise to the rank of a general, you will not be pulled out. I got that opportunity, the son of a sergeant. Now, I will just hit this point like a boxer that I am. Don't forget, there will be special dates, special moments in your career and life. Note these dates and keep them for posterity. Your children will need them for references. I showed somebody my father's and mother's wedding in 1964. I told her, I said, do not allow your husband to say there is no need for wedding. After traditional stuff, we don't need wedding. When I showed her, she said, I said, do not be deceived. Let your husband take you to the altar. This is my own father and mother's wedding in 1964. Don't be deceived, young men and women. Listen to advices from those who know it more than you and even those you think you know more than. Talk less and listen more. Look at this. The son of a sergeant is being honored with his wife. Out, they are pulling me out. And I'm taking salute at the quarter guard. Plan for everything. Obey rules. Be calm in challenging situations. You will definitely have them. Loyal to constituted authority. Be ready for surprises in different forms. You will meet them. You will deserve something and it will not be given to you. It's a surprise. You will be in a place and you will be called to be honored without your preparation for it. That is surprise. Be organized always. For everything in the Nigerian army, we plan for everything. We plan to eat. We plan parade. Everything plan and be organized. Look at this. The logos of the Nigerian army. Look at 7 and 8. It is to my credit. I designed it for the Nigerian army. Don't forget, yes, that all you do is documented. They say the brain and of recent the internet does not forget. Avoid actions that will harm your reputation because it will be difficult to get it back. Observe your environment and be security conscious. Be prudent and prioritize things. Is it the week of 1 million naira you need or good books? Prioritize things. Do not be a follower of trends and happenings. That was me when I left service in 2019. You saw how I came in, a boy. I did not allow my situation to bother me. So those of you who are not from schools, they pay 10, 15 million naira. Don't let where you are disturb you. Look forward and say, one General Loko spoke to us. I will do more than him. I will surpass him because he told us he's from a home and the father is a sergeant. Learn and practice morality. Morality is a major problem. Believe in yourself. Be creative and self-reliant. Do not do drugs. Mind your company. Be humble and calculative. Be patient with life. Do not fall short in your behavior at all times. It is more difficult to tender public apologies with shame than behave well. See what is happening. People who are supposed to behave well are misbehaving in the public. Then they come back to their senses and they are apologizing to people who are not ready to listen to them. When you misbehave in the public and you come and start shedding crocodile tears, nobody will listen to you. So be very careful at all times. Don't be a racist. I was in Liberia for United Nations mission, mingled with so many people from different parts of the country. If you don't train to be a better person, you will regret all through. According to Professor Adedoyin of the University of Ilorin, the wife to General Media is late, may so rest in peace. I quote, she said, "Do not give up, continue to push, and don't discriminate." Look at this photograph. All these things I've brought here is to encourage you, to tell you you can do more. That photograph you're seeing, that was Major General David Hills, the commandant of the U.S. War College. He visited here, this place you are, and I took him round. Look at him when he was going. Now I tell you today, manage your anger. Those who are misbehaving is because they could not manage their anger. Always hope for the best. Read in between the lines. So many things will not be written down for you. There is nowhere in this hall that they say, those of you there should not just walk here. But you know it, it's not written anywhere. That a student should just walk here and pick a seat. So many rules, laws will not be written. Use your emotional intelligence. It must be properly used for peace with different kinds of human beings. Be a strategic thinker with foresight. Your decision will make or reduce you. Be very careful in making choices. Look at this. These are photographs of visits. Set goals and be responsible. Take a good position in your relationship with individuals and groups. Honor your parents. And keep your family name. My family name is Oloko. I am not Oloko. I didn't even know him. But it's a big name in Delta State. Madam, I bow. Our king. Please clap for her and clap for the king. The sky is wide enough for everyone, here and elsewhere. Be ready for conflict situations and how to manage them effectively. Be a solution provider. and not a clog in the wheel of progress. Be financially disciplined. I'm retired. I get my salary as a retired general, 100%. And I am also paid here the salary of a general, 100%, as a consultant. So what is my problem? If I had not behaved well, I will not get to where I am. Manage your finances very well. Don't be broke like a peasant. Yes. That was General Tuku Yusuf Buratai giving me that award. The one on the extreme there, that was my son. That is my son. In the military school, finished from the military school. Now, accept mistakes when they occur and learn to say, I am sorry to those up, your peers, and those below you. Some of us find it very difficult to tell the younger ones, I am sorry. At times I say some nasty things to my children. I will tell them, I'm sorry. My daughter will go to meet the mother. Can you imagine? That is begging me. Yes, I am sorry. Please, learn. We, the adults, should learn to say we are sorry to the younger generation when we offend them. Be mindful of technology. It will give you a lot of pain, especially the internet. Be careful. And I want to tell you here that your dreams are achievable only when you work hard with a lot of determination. Cultivate the habit of adding value to any place you find yourself. I'll just give you some of the things I did by the grace of God. Boxing, 1985. A member of the four-man team that fabricated the first Nigerian Army outdoor broadcasting van. I was a camp commandant 25 years ago in Paiku. Maybe any of the copper here, that person will be old now. I designed the logo, as I told you, 7 and 8 division, and that of Super Green. I donated a life-size fiber sculpture of a soldier in action to the Nigerian Army Museum. And I contributed effectively when I was a member of the NYSC governing board. I was a member of NYSC governing board. So many of the reforms you see in here, I contributed. This was what I told you. I donated a vehicle to the Nigerian military school. I donated 10 bicycles. I donated 5 magic boards to the Nigerian military school. Why did I do this? This is a school that trained my children. When you go there, you stay for 6 years. 2 of my children stayed 6 years there. So I should contribute to that school. This is me here, giving lectures. And Don had an Italian artillery officer, visited the museum. I established the first history hall in Command Secondary School in Abakaliki. I commanded the centenary parade in Liberia. When Liberia became 100 years, the son of a sergeant, Paul me standing before you, I commanded that parade. And the flag was given to me. And I donated the flag to the museum. So that my children, when I'm gone, will not say, no, they want to sell this flag. I know they won't do that. They're good children. That's okay. Before you say you want to sell the flag that your father commanded, put it in the museum. So it's there. Accepting to give my service to the Nigerian Army as a consultant after retirement and others is something I cherish. There are people who were called back. They refused. They said they are not coming because they are angry the way they left service. So be grateful at all times. Wherever you find yourself. Let me tell you something shocking. I was to be made the Director General NYSC 2 days. They were just waiting for the announcement and I was retired. 2 days to becoming DG NYSC, Nigeria. I was retired, but I still thank God and I'm happy. So, for every wrong thing that happens to you, say, God, I thank you. It will have been worse. Am I speaking? Yes. Now, they need to know that only those who love you will care about you and advise you accordingly. I love you. That's why I'm doing this to you.
Love you too, sir.
Make use of every opportunity that comes your way and prepare for the evening time. Old age.
Okay, let me say, I only have, my brother was a retired army and I wasn't encouraged because he retired without a star. So I wasn't encouraged.
He retired without
a star.
Okay, without a star.
Yes, so when I was in NYSC, I met with the captain who said that he would like me to become a military person. Yes. But I told him that I love to be a diplomat.
It's good,
okay?
It's good.
So, sir, but your story has really inspired us. And God will bless you with long life and prosperity and strength. Sir, on behalf of Africa Young Diplomat Forum, we present you with this award of recognition and appreciation. Thank you very much for everything. And we will try to call on you when we are ready to donate something to the Nigerian Army, and then you will be our father that will facilitate us to that place. Thank you very much, sir. We love you, sir.
You will permit me to say one thing after this photograph. Just one, because of this lady. Thank you very much, madam. Please, my sister, when they called you here, something struck me. You know what? Listen there!
Soldier.
My mother is from Sierra Leone.
Wow.
Please clap for her. So when the Sierra Leonean flag was displayed, I remembered my mother. She died when I was 7 years. So it was difficult. But when I had Sierra Leone, I said, Mommy's country.
One program put together young minds from all walks of life, committed to raising the next generation for the possibilities that lies ahead. This is highly commendable and appreciated by the National Productivity Center. The National Productivity Center being the apex productivity organization in Nigeria with the mandate of improving national levels of productivity, quality of goods and services for the enhancement of the standard of living through productivity movement and initiatives, embraces this conference. To the organizers, we wish to say, this esteemed, highly commendable program is something we really appreciate. And we feel that it's something we would like to partner with you on. Therefore, we want to use this forum to request that productivity and its application is mainstreamed into this agenda, without which we cannot overcome our challenges and harness our opportunity. The center therefore pledges to give all the support to this program, which should transcend this conference. I would like to thank the organizers for inviting the center for this partnership and conference with the platform, which is served as a platform for promoting productivity and quality. I would like to say that the journey of productivity begins with the consciousness of the mind, the mentality of progress, the need for us as individuals to have the thinking that it is we that can do better for ourselves, and then collectively we do better for the nation. I wish to use this forum to encourage all of us to be productive, to have productivity consciousness in our attitudes, in our actions, especially the youth. Productivity is the only key to the national economic growth and development we all seek as a nation. So it must be imbibed by all, and most especially our youth. I wish to thank you all for being here and encourage that we should all be productive in all our endeavors. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of my Director General, Larry Isa Onedu, I'm standing here to read his goodwill message to this very important gathering. But I think it's very lengthy, so let me just cut it and commend you for a job well done. Of your written text, but I'll hand it over to Oga here so that she can document it. He is wishing you well and commended your effort very well. And also want to use this medium to inform you that the agency has been revamped. We are doing a lot of wonderful things, a lot of innovation under its own leadership. We have various channels for which you can reach government to say your needs and want, and government will do what they can do for you. We also want to inform you that we have an AI app known as the Clean. She is there to give you unlimited information about government activities. We also create a mobilizer app where you can see what you really want and you make suggestions to government. And we also want to tell you that we've introduced a policy that will give Nigerians definition, and the document is what we gave you there, the National Identity Project. That is trying to give Nigerians definition. If you read through, it will soon be launched. You are privileged because of Madam Valentina. We gave you this document before it's even released. It's all because of her. So I think we will need to say for everyone. So if you read through, you will see there is a lot of things that are working. We should understand that as a diplomat, we need to do things that are in the best interest of our continent. We need to see how to enhance our economy so that we will not be dependent on foreign countries. We are well-rich, endowed with a lot of resources, gold, diamond, mention what will help us. Thank you very much.
Permit me to stand on the existing protocol. They said the best is safe for the last. I don't know how to actually say it, but I doff my hat for you. Yeah, if you're below 26 years, I want to talk to you. 13 years ago, I was nominated for an award in Lisbon by the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that's Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, TCFR. I got there when they started reading a profile. When they read my profile, they were standing ovation in the hall that the award is coming to Nigeria. But you know why I lost that award? I was 30 years at that. And they gave the award to a 26-year-old boy. And tears gushed out of my eyes. And I said, if only these people knew where I'm coming from. 13 years I was in the street fighting for survival. I only got the opportunity to go to school when I was 20. I got admission, as at that time, I was 30 years and that was when I got admission. But I have this thing in mind, that nothing changes a man until the man changes self. The discovering of self for everyone here is a bet for leadership. And I want to use this opportunity to ask everyone below 26 to stand up on their feet. While we do this with faith. If you're here, you're already a leader. Say, it is time for Africa. Say it louder. It is time for Africa. If you're older than 26 and you believe that it is time for Africa, you can join them and say this. It is time for Africa.
It is time for Africa.
I am an African.
I am an African.
I am an African.
I am an African.
Not because I am black. Not because I have other color. Because Africa is born in me. And I take responsibility. The future is now. The Africa is the world.
Thank you. Now university. Few words. Thank you.
Moderator, ladies and gentlemen. Mine is not a speech, and I just want to say a word of appreciation. My name is Dr. Dimas Garba, Head of Department of Political Science and International Relations, Nile University of Nigeria. I am very much delighted for the opportunity given to my students by AYDF to participate in this diplomatic simulation. It has been my long aspiration to see that beyond the borders, corners of the classroom, that my students have a touch with reality of diplomacy. And the AYDF has given me this opportunity to connect them with this reality by not only seeing how diplomatic processes are conducted, but also to seeing the future that they aspire for. Africa is our continent, and there is no place other than Africa. when my brother was talking. I was in the UK for my master's, and most of my colleagues were, I won't come back to Nigeria. And I said, I am coming back to Nigeria. God has a reason for why I'm in Africa, and I have a contribution to make. Like I always tell my students, the world belongs to all of us. The leadership of our continent is not by birth, it's by aspiration, determination, and discipline, like the Brigadier General has said. You have done a very wonderful thing in the life of these young individuals. On behalf of my university, I want to appreciate you for this recognition, and for the young ones that have gotten these awards, and for myself as well. Because in the university, we're in the business of research, and we know that there is no development without research. Any policy is bound to fail if it is not research-driven. On regional integration, I'm happy that I have written about 4 articles on Africa and regional integration, the challenges. I have written on Nigeria's contribution to regional integration, its recent performance, and the way forward. I've also written on the challenges of implementation of the Africa single currency, and I love Africa. I've also written on Nelson Mandela. If you check on the internet, you see my articles. I am happy that while we teach the students, they now see what we teach them in the class. Thank you so very much for this opportunity, and God bless you. Thank you.
All right, we are about to be enlightened. We've been making grave errors, and that's why we have the National Orientation Agency here. Have the floor, sir. Thank you.
Sorry, please. I had to beg for a little time to clear over a little mistake we had done. This national anthem that we recited was okay. It has been approved now. The first stanza, that's why we gave you this copy, should be the only aspect that you read, you recite during gathering like this. The 3 will be done when during National Independence Day, democracy, or other major occasions. That was when you recite all. Then the 3rd stanza is the national prayer. It will be recited, and that's at the beginning of the occasion. Closing prayers is the national pledge. We are trying to unite ourselves. So this is just the error. Please let's just try to remember where to do the first stanza and this one. So no hand for me, please. Thank you, sir.
Wow, thank you. I like such I like such opportunities like this. It brings enlightenment. So finally, we would hear from our colleague from Sierra Leone. She has a word from one of our huge supporters. Okay, maybe I just need to say it. So he's of blessed memory now. He was meant to be here, but he had already bought his ticket, everything. He had written his speech. Unfortunately, he got into a ghastly accident, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago. Yeah. So our colleague there got a hold of his speech, and she's going to read it to us. Thank you.
I'm Fatma Tujalo, and I'm from Sierra Leone, and I'm the Sierra Leone representative. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate you. AYDF appreciate you. So today I'm here to honor the memory of the great Mr. Prince Charles Coker. He was the chairman for all political parties in Sierra Leone, and he was kind, generous, and he was a selfless person, always willing to lend a helping hand and offer support when needed. He was a friend, mentor, and inspiration to so many, and his passing leaves a void. So just like how my colleague have said, a few weeks ago, I had the pleasure to meet with Prince Charles Coker and presented a letter of invitation for this conference we are having here today. He took the letter from my hand and was happy about it because he was so invested in the organization and wanted it to work out for us. He will always leave advice like, know that you face challenges but never give up because nothing comes easily. So he later promised to cancel all his other trips to be in attendance here today. He went ahead and bought his ticket, sent it to me just to reassure us that he will be here today. Unfortunately, like she said, he met with an accident 3 weeks ago, and he was pronounced dead upon arrival at the hospital. So he was unable to get here. So of course he will miss deeply. But before that, he wrote a speech, and he sent the speech to me, but it was not a good one. It's something related to the theme, and on his behalf, he has to read it to us. So, Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. Overcome the challenges and harnessing opportunities for African economic integration. It says, Africa is a continent with immense potential for economic growth and development. However, one of the biggest challenges it faces is harnessing opportunities for economic integration is the lack of infrastructure. In many African countries, there is a severe shortage of roads, ports, and other key infrastructure that is essential for trade and commerce to thrive. Another challenge is the prevalence of political instability and conflict in many parts of Africa. This not only hampers economic growth, but also creates barriers to regional cooperation and integration. Without peace and stability, it is difficult for countries in Africa to work together towards common economic goals. Furthermore, Africa is home to a diverse range of culture, languages, and economic systems, making it difficult to coordinate economic integration efforts across the continent. This diversity can lead to disputes over trade, policies, investment regulations, and other issues that are essential for effective economic integration. Despite these challenges, there are opportunities for Africa to overcome them and achieve greater economic integration by investing in infrastructure, promoting peace and stability, and fostering cooperation among countries. Africa could create a more conducive environment for economic growth and development. However, while Africa faces significant challenges in harnessing opportunities for economic integration, there is also a great potential for the continent to overcome these obstacles and achieve greater prosperity by addressing the issues of infrastructure, political instability, and cultural diversity. Africa can pave a way for a more integrated and sustainable economic future. Africa is a continent with immense potential for economic growth and development. However, in order to realize this potential, it must address the challenges it faces and seize the opportunity that economic integration can bring. One of the key challenges that Africa faces is the fragmented market. Inter-African trade remains low compared to other regions, with a significant portion of trade being conducted with non-African countries. This lack of integration inhibits the continent's ability to harness economic of scale and promote specialization, leading to missed opportunities for growth. To overcome this challenge, Africa must prioritize regional integration efforts. This includes implementing policies that facilitate the movement of goods, services, and people across borders, as well as harmonizing regulations and standards to create a more conducive environment for trade. The African Continental Free Trade Area is a step in the right direction, aiming to create a single market for goods and services across the continent. By fully implementing and leveraging the potential of the AfCFTA, Africa can strengthen its position as a competitive player in the global economy. Additionally, Africa must invest in infrastructure development to improve connectivity both within the continent and the rest of the world. This includes investing in transportation network, energy infrastructure, and digital connectivity to reduce cost and increase efficiency in movement of goods and services. Improved infrastructure will also attract investments and encourage economic growth, creating more opportunities for business people across the continent. Moreover, Africa must prioritize human capital development to ensure that its workforce is equipped and skilled and knowledge needed to participate in a globalized economy. This includes investing in education and training programs that promote entrepreneurship.
I'm here to use some of these words as a young diplomat. So, for 9 University, we are officially saying to you that we are starting and launching Young Diplomats Club in your school, and your school, for me, is a go-to for African Young Diplomats Club. Our partnership and we direct other higher institutions to learn from your way of experience. And then we will also appreciate your contribution towards the success of African Young Diplomats Forum Conference. Thank you very much, Nile University. Our love, our regards, our greetings to the Vice Chancellor, the management, the Senate, and the board, the entire board. Especially, I am a candidate of international relations and diplomacy, so I am giving a special regards to the HOD seated. Is my HOD. Thank you very much, sir. And to our students from University of Abuja, we are also saying thank you. We are officially launching the Young Diplomats Club in your school as well. At a later time, we will be paying an advocacy visit to each of these schools, where we'll be having a special session and celebration of launching with your schools. And we want to assure you, like I told my partner, and she made the announcement to us, that we'll be having the next conference for Africa Youth Day exhibition and award ceremony in Sierra Leone, which is coming up November 1st, 2025. And we'll be having it in Sierra Leone, and we are ready to support your participation in Sierra Leone. We will do everything possible to work with your school, with the authority, and to work with everyone that will be involved to make your travel to Sierra Leone smooth.